The following is a transcript of a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. 23rd May 2021, Immune-Respiratory. I am. Inspire. Inhale. Me. I inhale. I am. Support. Me. I maintain. I am. Exhale. Me. I exhale. I am. And it starts again, again, and again. Me. I breathe. I am. Respirare. From Latin, to blow again. It is the most important automatic constant act that we perform at every moment, and perhaps the only one of the biological functions controlled by the parasympathetic system of which we are clearly aware. Me. Key to our lives. I am. The respiratory system is a sacred system in the body, which reminds us of the pulses and impulses of the universal mind. The breath gives life, and the breath that emerges from this system is what was known as the soul. It was believed that the last breath that one makes in his life is the one that liberates the soul from within the body. It is the most subtle part of physical existence. For this reason, we call the place of the subtle as spiritual, a word arising from spirare, being spiritualis, the attribute of the breath, the quality of breathing that gives us life. Me. The spiritual plane of being, therefore, at the universal level, is related to the respiratory system of the universe. I am. Exactly. Taking the notion of fractals, we could understand that the cosmos inspires the universal mind and exhales cosmic energy. Or, in other words, it is inspired by the spiritual and exhales the soul. The whole universe is a network of breath that absorbs the subtle essences of space to carry them through time conduits, historical lines, through densification channels, wormholes, which distribute the spirits through different worlds, where they will be incarnated to nourish history, becoming an active part of the manifested body of divine consciousness, creating more worlds, and returning your experiences back to the universal essence, where interdimensional networks will use you as a basis to create more and better beings with transcendental information. Me. Wow. I could imagine the ducts, the process. I remember. I am. Well, the same thing happens in your body, and that's the path we'll travel. Many times, people who seek answers in the spiritual world tend to look to the heavens, imagine all those spirits crossing dimensions, creating souls, being born in the world, and others returning to the subtle planes after dying, and imagining this magic, they do nothing more than describe the respiratory system, a system that is so close, they don't pay attention. Me. That is why it is said that the most important thing to connect with the universe is the breath. It is the most powerful tool to join the cosmos. I am. Breathe. Feel the air enter your lungs and how it comes out hot, repeating the cycle incessantly. Well, now let's go through it as the universe that it is. And for this you must remember, what do you breathe? Me. Air. I am. What is air composed of? Me. Oxygen. I am. You could say so, but it's actually the second most present. Air is the set of gases that make up the Earth's atmosphere, that is, the gases that are pressed on the surface of the world by the force of gravity. This atmosphere is divided into 5 main layers. From the outermost part, near space, the exosphere begins, followed down by the thermosphere, the mesosphere, the stratosphere, and the one that concerns us, the troposphere, in which breathing is possible. It has a height of 7 kilometers at the poles and 16 kilometers towards the tropics and equator, and is where all climatic phenomena occur. Both the troposphere and the stratosphere are composed of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 1% argon, 0.4% carbon dioxide, and the rest of noble gases such as neon. Me. Oh, so there's more nitrogen than oxygen. I am. Fundamental element for living beings, especially the plants that use it for their food. Oxygen, as we have said once, was not an element present in the Earth's atmosphere. It was thanks to the appearance of bacteria and phytoplankton, unicellular plant structures, the first to perform photosynthesis, that oxygen began to fill the atmosphere. This happened then in the processing of carbon dioxide, necessary for the absorption of light in plants, which filled the earth by its deep volcanic activity. When the molecules were broken down, carbon was taken as an energy source, thus releasing oxygen molecules, useless for the photosynthetic process. These bacteria began filling the atmosphere about 2,300 million years ago. To this day, as much as one believes that it is the forests and jungles that generate the world's oxygen, they actually represent a small part of its production, since it is the phytoplankton of the oceans that is responsible for generating the oxygen we breathe. The single-celled organisms of the animal kingdom began to use oxygen as a source of energy, which allowed them to move. The animals acquired the sources of carbon and nitrogen, among others, by consuming plants, while oxygen drove the cells to move. Oxygen, as its name says, oxidizes the internal elements of the body, which for animals is the key to purification. It destroys harmful elements, decomposing them by oxygenation, which causes them to be released from the cells to be excreted. It is thus oxygenation that allows the body to be healthy and not have to process so many toxins, which depletes energies. Me. Oh, interesting. So oxygen doesn't nourish us, it cleanses us. Purge. I am. That's right. Helps cell regeneration. Understanding this, you will understand that the oxygen atoms are similar to the spiritual world, which incarnates in the worlds to purge, cleanse roughness, remove the weight of living cells, karma, to be able to expand. Me. Wow, it makes sense. I am. Now let's take the journey that spirits make in your body. The spiritual plane is full of many other denser creatures that are not necessary to carry out this purging process, such as carbon dioxide, which represents the dark beings that nourish matter, but that imply a weight in the organism, a densification. Therefore, the respiratory system is responsible for discerning oxygen from the rest, allowing only these atoms to enter the body, while taking the rest of the unnecessary to eliminate them. Me. Karma and Dharma. I am. The respiratory system begins with the nose, through which the air enters with all its external particles. It circulates through the nasal cavity, which finds its limit in the sphenoid cavity, where the pituitary gland rests. Thus, with each breath, the vibration keeps the spirit on fire in matter. It descends through the pharynx, where it meets the oral cavity, which is why you can also breathe with your mouth, although it is not recommended because the mouth has another purpose and oxygenation does not occur in the same way. Breathing through the mouth indicates need, while through the nose is temperance. The pharynx intersects with the esophagus to find the larynx, where air will find its way to the lungs. There is located the vocal apparatus, the vocal cords, which mark the boundary between the larynx and trachea. The trachea is the rough duct that resembles the trunk of a tree, which begins to divide in the same way as the vegetable, branching. These branches are called bronchi, which we can relate to gill and branch. And the main ones are divided into two, which lead to the organs called lungs. This word comes from the Greek pleo, flow, and pneu, breath, which gives us pneumatic, pneumonia, with the suffix mon, agent, subject. They are constituted by an increasingly smaller branching by thousands and thousands of small branches, which are subdivided from superior, middle, and inferior lobar bronchi towards the segmental bronchi or bronchioles, from which arise the small stems called alveoli, contained by the alveolar sacs, which are lined with veins and arteries, blood capillaries, tiny vessels that receive the oxygen molecules filtered by the alveoli, at the same time that from the arteries, the alveoli receive the molecules of carbon dioxide and impurities to be expelled through the same duct in the reverse path. This is possible thanks to the diaphragm, an elastic tissue that divides the lungs from the digestive system, and that extends when air enters and contracts, retaking its place, pushing out everything that moves through the lungs. Not all animals perform the same process, as there are insects, amphibians, reptiles, and marine beings that breathe directly through the skin. Me. Wow, it's a journey. I am. The universal journey. If you compare these spiritual beings that enter through the wormholes, in you they do it through the bronchi, which are dissipated by bronchioles and alveoli, which are like the fruits or flowers of the tree, the different worlds, where they enter the bloodstream as the very flow of life, where they will change worlds, countries, lives, cell after cell, in different experiences, illuminating and purging density, returning it to the cosmos as experiences, wisdom, called carbon dioxide, records of the molecular level. Me. It's the tree of life. Amazing. The lungs are like that tree of existence where we all incarnate, experience, disincarnate. We transcend. I am. And in turn, many entities can also enter through this system. There may be many invaders, beings composed of carbon that seek to nourish themselves from the worlds, create their colonies, and create their own realities in this dimension that you are. Me. Who are they? I am. Viruses and bacteria, the simplest and at the same time most fascinating organisms in the realm of organic life. They are so small that they float in the air. There are millions of bacteria and viruses that enter your body with every breath. The air is full of these creatures looking for a place to stay and reproduce, a favorable environment. For this reason, the respiratory system needs an incessant ally. Me. Which one? I am. The immune system. Me. The defense system. I am. It is a complex system which can be seen from 2 points of view, conditional and unconditional. Me. What would the conditional look like? I am. It is the one who is dedicated to defense, because his greatest condition is life and the integrity of the organism he builds. Therefore, he needs to keep the whole being in harmony, clean, pure of everything that can intervene in its survival and stability. Thus, it will only allow those viruses and bacteria that adhere to the condition of homeostatic life to live in the body. Me. Huh? Are there viruses and bacteria that help? I am. Yes, many. Thousands of them. And this is what gives us the unconditional vision. There are thousands of bacteria that help in the processes of purging, digestion, that consume things that it is impossible for us to generate. We call this the intestinal flora, a bacterial set necessary for life in a fair amount, which is maintained thanks to viruses, those that eat bacteria. Many viruses inhabit our body in a perfect symbiosis, regulating our system, like the cold virus, influenza, which never leaves the body and multiplies as a mechanism of improvement of the immune system, strengthening it year after year. Me. I've never seen it like this. It makes sense. I am. But despite this, there are viruses, bacteria, and cells that are not positive, and therefore there is an immune system to track, like the police, the military, ensuring the continuity of the whole organism, patrolling the streets of the veins and arteries, touring every corner in search of actions that are not within the established harmony. Unconditionally, the immune system opens up to receive viruses and bacteria in the body to improve the system. At first, the system does not defend itself, but takes the external to evolve, takes advantage of all alien resources to implement improvements in the structural system. This is symbiosis, the way in which the earth has developed life, not fighting each other, but learning to live together, interacting and benefiting from each being that inhabits this world. We would not have survived even 2 months as humans if our bodies were dedicated to fighting the environment instead of using it to improve and adapt. It was thanks to the use of the immune system that we exist, since it regulated the entry of exogenous agents to use them, giving them a home in exchange for their products. Me. So the immune system works as a form of exchange, of barter. In reality, it is not that it defends itself, but that it exchanges skills. I am. Until any of those parts threaten the general living conditions. There the conditions are implemented, and those parties begin to be persecuted. Me. I see it as in the society, in which, if we had dedicated ourselves to prohibiting everything that we believe was bad, we would never have had development, and we would live in dictatorships. I am. For a good immune system to work, everything must be allowed until the cells themselves are compromised. Me. But, for example, one of the great conflicts that exists today is drugs and their mafias. You mean drugs should be allowed? I am. The drug doesn't do the same damage that the mafia that moves the drug does. Drug addicts will remain so legally or illegally. Even if drugs were legal, there would be less consumption, as it would be more regulated by the health and psychology systems. There would no longer be mafias, deaths, decadence, and people outside the system risking their lives without containment. This is how the immune system works. It does not fight. It looks for a way to decant the real problem, which is not the drug, but the mafia. Me. I understand. I am. In the world of viruses, there are also mafias that monopolize everything, and there are also cells that seek to control everything, to the point where they interpret that even the same healthy cells can be harmful. Me. Like when we see the police or military attacking the people themselves. I am. That's right. Me. How do we understand the immune system? I am. Immune comes from the Latin word im, inside, and muno, to build. The sense comes from raising an inner strength. This system is structural. That is, it covers a large spectrum of the body and is not specifically in charge of an organ, but are cells produced by several of them. Despite this, in the first years of life, it will be the thymus who is responsible for strengthening the white blood cells generated in the bone marrow so that they can defend the body. But the emergence of the defense system is created in different places and distributed by other systems. Me. What are they? I am. The system is composed of elements and chemical reactions produced in organs that are soluble in liquid to be easy to distribute through the circulatory and lymphatic system. Mainly these reactions are generated in the bone marrow, in the spine, the thymus, above the heart, the spleen, on the left side of the stomach, the lymph nodes, distributed in different parts of the body, and the mucous tissues. Mentioning this, remember that at the gates of the respiratory system, mucus is produced. Mucus is a set of dead cells filled with cells of the immune system, which fulfill a prison function for all external agents that may enter, adhering them due to viscosity. Mucus is the first shield in the biological battle. Me. It disgusts me, but it's true. I am. Leukocytes, white blood cells, are generated in the medulla, as well as others such as neutrophils, lymphocytes, macrophages, monocytes, among others. These compounds travel through the blood looking for internal pathogens, in the case of malfunctioning cells, as in cancer, or external pathogens, such as harmful viruses or bacteria and parasites. What they do is identify them and adhere to them by surrounding and dissolving them. Once they have done so, they break down the DNA of this pathogen, eliminating its reproduction functionality, and integrate into the cells where they will incorporate this DNA as a record, which will allow them to identify the next ones that appear more easily, which will return to the system stronger and more immune, producing immune memory. Me. And if the body is not able to do it on its own, what happens? I am. Throughout history, humans were seeing how certain plants and elements of nature had qualities that strengthened the defense mechanism. Thus, natural medicine appeared using flowers, plants, roots, fungi, and sometimes also parts of animals and insects, which helped strengthen the body and established the quantities by creating potions. But sometimes it wasn't enough. One thing is to prevent, another thing is to cure. The immune system needs to create antibodies, that is, internal chemical elements that recognize the virus, parasite, or bacteria. Imagine this. In a first case, a viral disease suddenly appears affecting a large number of people who had never faced this virus, and therefore their bodies need time to recognize this new microbe. In the process, the virus colonizes the body, and it fails and dies. But in a second case, imagine that the population knows that a virus is coming, so some take this virus in a laboratory, break it down to the point of destroying it, killing it, and leaving only its DNA compounds dissolved. Then, with this, they perform a previous step that the body will not have to perform, which is the inquiry and attack. They put this dead virus inside the body, and the body reacts to this new thing that happens. The same organism raises its body temperature, since at more than 37 degrees Celsius viruses and bacteria can die, but suddenly it is easier for them to find them because they do not move or reproduce. This gives the body much more agility to identify the invader and prepare for the new ones that come, the live virus. Thus, when it reaches the body, they will already have the knowledge of how to act on it. Me. This is what we often don't understand about vaccines. Today, with the coronavirus, there is a kind of fight against the vaccine. I am not against vaccines, but I am in favor of the body being the one who naturally learns and develops immunity because, despite the risk involved in the middle of a pandemic, vaccines can also be wrong and need more preparation time. In itself, I know that vaccines are basically a simple preliminary step that saves the immune system, but at what cost? I am. The vaccine is named for the first experiment of inoculation of a virus called cowpox. By the late 1700s, smallpox was spreading across Europe, killing thousands. The English country doctor Edward Jenner noticed how people working with cows who had had mild cowpox did not get sick with human smallpox. This recalled how other cultures used to inoculate mucous membranes with certain diseases to counteract their own relapse. For this reason, this doctor used the same system, injecting some people with the cowpox virus and, 40 days later, the human smallpox virus, which did not affect him in the least. This resulted in the extension of the smallpox injection using cow disease as a way to prime the immune system. From there, in honor of this discovery, we have the word vaccine, which comes from cow, vacca, in Latin. Me. I would never have imagined that vaccine comes from cow. So, what is the position on this? I am. That vaccines are not negative, but have improved the development of human life, making us immune through history. This does not mean that experimentation with vaccines can bring its problems. The poor development of a vaccine, the lack of tests, and the chemicals or metals that can be put as tests can end up being counterproductive to the body. After all, remember that they are inoculating dead bugs into the body, which, if the body does not react, will get sick. It is a risk, yes. For many it is, just as for many others it is salvation. Every human has a special immune system, and not everyone will react in the same way. This does not make the vaccine wrong, but each individual adapts differently. Always the best option will be to allow the body to strengthen itself to learn to fight for itself, learn to adapt. Me. So, on the subject of COVID-19, do we get vaccinated or not? I am. It's very recent. A vaccine needs at least 5 years to be developed to work, and not even 2 years have passed. What is being done now is an intention to accelerate normality, which in many may work, but in many others may bring problems. It is not my decision to tell others to get vaccinated or not, because it depends on their own biology and not on a philosophy. Me. I understand. Sometimes beliefs can hurt us. I am. In the 18th and 19th centuries, many Christian doctors fought against vaccines, considering them enemies of God's will. However, vaccines saved thousands of lives, when God saved a few. This led to think that faith, beliefs, often stop development because in the eagerness to survive, the errors of science are seen as the hand of the devil until they discover the way and become saviors. It's all about a process. Today the world is going through a pandemic that puts the immune systems of millions of humans at risk. Most can pass through the virus without the need for vaccines because most humans have a system capable of managing this threat. But many others do not and will need a vaccine, although, as I said, the development time is too little, and what is rushed does not last. Me. I understand. I am. This virus affects breathing. It is a painful test of our own resistance to the spiritual world, a wake-up call to connect with the purge of this world. We are poisoning the earth, its air, and therefore the earth reminds us of it. Humanity must learn to breathe again, and therefore must fight against its own inconsistencies. Me, breathing to return to the coherence of my being. I am. Inspire. Inhale. Me. I inspire. I am. Support. Me. I maintain. I am. Exhale. Me. I exhale.